want it out. My God, they don't want us to know about the Aerospace Command. Would you believe that? Trillions of dollars a year are going off to a military command that the American people don't even know exists.
You're talking about Space Command.
I'm Aerospace Command.
Okay.
It's
Is that located in Nebraska?
No. It used to be Nebraska. It used to be Colorado Springs.
Uh-huh.
Now the headquarters, I swear to God, the headquarters is in orbit.
Right.
Now, trillions going to Aerospace Command. There is a 4-star Air Force general who, last I checked last year, was commanding, Lance Lord. Interesting name. I about swore up and down that Lance Lord is one of them. But Lance Lord commands the Aerospace Command, and it's a joint services space command that the American people don't even know exists. It puts NASA to shame.
Okay. Is it an international organization?
Yes, it really is. Mm-hmm. Because there are British officers serving right along with United States Air Force and Navy officers. Yes, and
okay.
we've done that now since World War II.
British, and what about Australian?
UK. Are you familiar with the UKUSA Pact?
I've heard of it.
UK-USA.
Right.
Signed in 1947. Australia, New Zealand, Canada, and Great Britain.
Okay.
And the U.S. signed a pact called the UKUSA Pact in 1947, and we've been like this ever since.
Okay. And so we've got a space command, and this is doing what? Going out into doing interstellar travel, because we've got whistleblowers talking about superluminal travel, faster than the speed of light.
I was told about hyperluminal flight 20 years ago by a retired aerospace engineer who spent most of his career with Boeing, McDonnell Douglas, and for some time with Lockheed Martin. And
they're going where? I mean, they're going, we're talking outside this solar system, right?
Leaving the system, yes indeed. When Ben Rich, before he retired and died, Ben Rich, who ran the Lockheed Skunk Works, said at one of his retirement dinners, he says, you know, we can take E.T. home. And he said, we've got technology that's 100 years beyond what establishment science would believe. And when he said we can take E.T. home, we're talking about hyperluminal flight. And we've had anti-gravity, and we've had 0-point energy for, 40 years. And one of the things that gets me frosted so much, I think, you know, my fuse sometimes can get very short, and it's the nature of who I am and how I was trained and raised. Bless their hearts, the American people out there who have been paying the damn bills for all these years deserve to know this. Every time I go to a filling station and put gasoline at $2.75 a gallon in my car, I get pissed off. Because we don't need to do this. This is going into the pockets of George Bush family and the rest of them, you know, a bunch of idiots, nitwits. Anybody that's got $1 billion and wants more, they're not people I can get along with.
I agree with that. So, okay, we're talking superluminal travel. You talked about a Stargate basically under S4 that's going over. I mean, you're also aware of Los Alamos, I imagine, the time travel that's being conducted from Los Alamos.
Yeah. Well, it was Los Alamos where they had a contained and sustained fusion reaction over 30 years ago. Controlled and contained, sustained fusion reaction.
Okay, well, what does that do? What does that one allow
That's
them to do?
infinite energy forever.
Okay.
Fusion, my God. And we've got it. But the American people don't know.
Right.
I mean, they pay electrical bills on their house. They are, you know. In the summer in Phoenix, for God's sake, the air conditioner's going night and day, 114 degrees outside. Every time the bill comes due, my wife has a fit. And I happen to know that we have fusion energy, and that shouldn't happen, that we don't need to do this, and we're being manipulated and dangled on a string. Oh my God. Don't get me started. I'm going to have to get myself a Jack Daniels, and then we'll really have an interview.
All right, well, that, I don't mind.
That guy sticks his head in, he says, "Oh, Mr. Dean, you got a minute?" And I said, "Sure, come on in." And I said, "Sit down, sit down." And he says, "Thank you." He says, I've been interested in just dropping in and saying hello.
Hello, right.
He says, "I've heard some of your interviews. I've seen you on the tube.
Right.
And I think I was going through the lawsuit at that time."
Sounds like it.
And he said, "Been fascinated about some of the things you had to say." And we sat and had a pleasant conversation for over 30 minutes. And he said, "Look, I want to thank you for your time." And he says, I've enjoyed it." He says, "You've answered my questions." He got up, smiled, shook hands. Out the door he went. He got out. Couldn't have been 30 seconds. I got up from my desk because I realized I hadn't found out who the hell this guy was.
Right.
He didn't give me a card. He introduced himself. I think he gave me his name, but I couldn't remember what it was. And I get up and I jump out the door, and I'm going out, and I head for the elevator because I figured he's gone down. To get into that sheriff's department, you had to go through security downstairs. You had to lay your driver's license out. They give you a little pass when you're in the building. They find out who is it you want to visit, and then they let you in. And they often will call up and say, "Mr. Dean, you've got somebody wants to visit, say hello or whatever." I had not asked him who he was, so I go jogging out looking. He's gone. I called downstairs to the security guard, the guy on the desk. I says, "Look, stop whoever just visited me before he leaves. I want to find out who the hell I've been talking to." He says, "Dean, there's nobody visiting you. Nobody went through here. Nobody checked in." He says, "Nobody can come up and, I said, "Now, I've just spent 30 minutes talking to a pleasant young man in my office, and he got up and left, and I didn't find out who the hell he was." And the sheriff's deputy says, "Hey, Dean, there's nobody." He said, "Are you all right? He said, are you fantasizing, for Christ's sake? Are you guys drinking something up there?" And he didn't check in. He didn't check out. He just dropped in and visited me for 30 minutes, and he looked just as human as you and I do.
Was he a blue-eyed blonde?
No.
No.
So have any of these individuals ever shared with you where they are from?
No.
Have you asked them?
Yes.
Okay.
And I generally would get the same answer that I got last year.
Which is?
I asked the woman who I was chatting with during the break last year here at the conference. She and her husband, I thought husband, they looked like a pair, were chatting amiably, pleasantly, shaking hands, looking straight into each other's faces. As human as you and I. And in the middle of the conversation, I got this gut feeling, which Ingo Swann describes as being an intuitive gut reaction when you meet an extraterrestrial. There is a part of you that responds at a gut level. It's an intuitive awareness somehow that this is different. And that's what prodded me a year ago to say to him, "You're not from here, are you?" And she got a big smile. And then I felt a little embarrassed. I said, "I don't mean like, are you from Miami or New York or Los Angeles?" But I said, "You're not from here, are you?" And she smiled and spoke up and said, "No, we're not from here." And I think she had been reading me, because they do that. And I said, where are you from?" And she says, "If I were to tell you, I don't think you would understand."